What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Metal Maniacs podcast. I'm your host, Jay Ingersoll, and I'm here with a man who lives his life south of heaven, my co-host.
Your boy Modd.
What's up, buddy?
Got my number.
How you doing today, man?
Oh, really
What's
good,
going on?
man. I'm stoked. I'm excited. I mowed the lawn yesterday. I'm super sore. I doubled over it, so the power mower followed by the push mower, just to clean up the lines and get any of that long grass that didn't want to get sucked up into the power mower, man. But what a day. That takes it out of you. Under the sun. I go out in head to toe, like PPE.
Oh, yeah.
Like I fucking
Safety glasses.
Just about, man. I got the sunglasses, the hat. I'm wearing like a long sleeve hoodie. Why in God's name in the summer am I wearing a long sleeve hoodie? It's the lightest one I've got, but the tree line, all the branches snap back and whip me, and I hate it. Like it burns me, dude. I'm like, I hate it. So I got the long sleeve on, the hoodie up. Why? Because the branches knock the headphones off. And I hate that shit. I'm like constantly resetting the headphones. So like I'm in the hoodie and sunglasses, the hat. I look like the Unabomber out here mowing the fucking lawn.
Your neighbors are like, "What is that guy cold?"
Yeah,
what is
like
his
I got the sweatpants on. Why? Same reason. Things be whipping me in the legs. So yeah,
that you do have to be mindful, especially if you're weed whacking. Fuck, I got a couple nasty ones.
Yeah, I got the steel toe boots on just in case the mower want to run over them feet.
God damn, man.
Like,
You got a bubble boy out here.
I'm sensitive like that.
That's OSHA approved lawn mowing right there, buddy. Shit.
I was whooped. I doubled over that lawn. The little
you
push
got a lot
lawn.
of hills though. That's what we were just talking about. It's just like when you got to push up that hill and then you're like kind of holding it back to go down, so you're still kind of like clenching on because you can't just let the mower rip down the hill, you know?
Right into the tree line. And then I doubled over, cleaned up the lines and everything with just like the little Scott push mower. And that thing sounds like Donald Duck having a spaz attack. Like it just, the way it, like I'm laughing the whole time. But then as soon as you hit a stick, any kind of tree limb, tiny little stick, it just locks up.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going head over heels right over the bar if you're like really pushing this thing, which I found out early. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Just do a nice, slow, steady pace. If you think you're gonna power through it and just hurry up, you go right over that bitch. It locks up. Like there's no, it'll rip your fingers off if you get them in there, but it will not go through a twig. It's fucked up. So that was a learning curve real quick. I was like, okay, just be cool, just be chill. Just enjoy the music. Speaking of music, we're going to talk about some today, yeah?
Yes.
Not just the lawnmower.
No. This was our special dedicated episode of mowing grass.
Yeah, here you
and
go.
what we listen to while we're mowing grass. No, totally kidding.
Top 15 lawnmowers.
Yeah. We are actually ranking Sepultura albums today. So let me tell you about this daunting 4-month period that I've been going through. So we have the Sepultura episodes 1 and 2, the biography. We did those. If you guys go check those out, we'd really appreciate it. A lot of work went into those. Haven't been performing that well, but I mean, over time, I imagine they probably will. A lot of work went into those. We did speak a lot about the music on those. I gave you my peace of mind. I went through the catalog, going through that a few times. Like we kind of talked before the show, we were talking about sometimes you got to listen to those albums a few times too, because once over you can write a few notes, but you're not really going to have a recollection of what actually is going on the album.
Yes,
the riffs that are really calling you home. Another thing that we talked about, we want to be mindful of. They have 15 LPs. We're not talking about EPs. We're not talking about the other cover albums, stuff like that.
Live stuff, all that.
Yep, all that. So we're just going through the 15. So we'll try to make it quick. We'll try to make it heavy, or try to make it concise, and you guys probably will be surprised because you and I have been singing the praise since we've done the Sepultura of some of this newer music, and we'll get into it as we rank it, but I hope you guys don't sleep on it. We've had a lot of discourse in the comment sections with people. Brian BC asked me, hey, what one's your favorite? Well, this one was my favorite. What I told him, and he said, over this one, and he said, really? And I said, Max isn't all Sepultura, so you're going to find out that about us today. And I think you might find that out about yourself if you actually go listen to any record after Roots.
And I think we can get into why the fan base kind of fractured and splintered off, and it became like a early divisive group, so to speak. The band itself, like with some of the work that they were doing in the middle of their catalog. and we'll get into that, and we'll talk about why I think a lot of things fell off, and then the resurgence of this band. But that said, if you want to lead off, we did not discuss that. You or me first. We didn't discuss.
Well, you're always my guest of honor, so I'm going to let you go first, my man.
All right, we'll knock this first one out real easy peasy.
Yeah, let's do this. Right at number 15.
Yeah, bottom of the heap here, and for obvious reasons, Morbid Visions. I have just a couple notes on this thing. It's basically unlistenable and unnecessary. The production's raw, the vocals are terrible, and in general, it's not very good, and I don't recommend it. I could see if you like that style of crusty old death metal, like I could see people going for it, but I cannot listen to this style of music like that anymore. And it doesn't sound like Sepultura, as we would come to know Sepultura. So
no.
So like this album for me is a bit of an anomaly. I can't get into it, and yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. So Morbid Visions at number 15.
Okay, that's fair. I'm just going to piggyback off that. That was my number 15 as well.
Makes sense.
Same reasons why. Great breakout for them.
Sure.
Something to get them recognized through the Cogamela records and get their, get the band established. But same way, just it's almost demo quality.
Yeah.
It's borderline unlistenable.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't really established what they want to do with their music quite yet.
Right.
So
sound like they're emulating a lot of their favorite artists. But
exactly, that Venom Bathory era. They're trying to really, pinch those guys, which we talked about, obviously, and we know that. But yeah, so that makes that one easy.
Yeah, so that's at the bottom. Moving on from that, at number 14, we're talking Schizophrenia. Again. Now we've got better production, and I think now we have the arrival of Max on vocals, or was he always vocals?
No, he wasn't always vocals. They had that
so
first
now,
singer that was in the Sarcophago.
All right, so just to be sure on that, because it doesn't sound like Max on Morbid Visions.
No.
Schizophrenia, a step up and in the right direction, but again, a thrash metal album that it just sounds like the Duka Chaka the whole time, and it still have not arrived at our own sound yet. It just sounds like early thrash metal. Sounds like their peers, and it's got like Troops of Doom on it that they redid from Morbid Visions, I believe, and that's a pretty decent song. I wouldn't mind if that one popped up, but other than that, don't have a lot to say about it. Just doesn't really do much for me. End of the day, so Schizophrenia right there at the bottom as well.
That is actually also my rank as well on that one.
Yep.
Not a very big surprise. Same reasons. We're still developing. We're still getting into what Sepultura actually is. Leaps and bounds, I still believe, ahead of the Morbid Visions as well, though.
Yeah.
I mean, just
immediately discernible music. Like I could listen to it if I like that style that much, but like I've listened to all that in my life, and it's like, however many songs are on that album, they pretty much all sound the same to me. Like, it's just, there's nothing to set it apart, give it space, just some songs may be better than others, but it just sounds like writing the same song over and over again. And I can't listen to that stuff for that long. Like, I wouldn't.
It's the same for me. All thrash all the time. It's very hard to digest for me. So, all right, cool. That knocks those two out right away.
Yeah. Moving along. So this one, at number 13, we're talking about Against. And this is going to be Derek Green's debut album with the band, and we're coming off of Roots, the most successful album I believe that they ever put out. But this one, man, it doesn't have a whole lot going for it.
Nope.
And it's there. I called it Roots Light. Probably hard for the fan base to accept the new vocalist. It's just a pile of simple and repetitive riffs. There's a lot of punk on there. There are the tribal instrumental breaks, but this album suffers from like noisy guitar work, a lot of feedback, a lot of screechiness.
There's some jamminess to it.
Yeah, there's some wah pedal, like overabundant wah pedal in there. So, and it's still, and they're clinging to that new metal sound. I did note here, we got some songs like Old Earth, Boycott, Common Bonds, Unconscious. Those are all like probably the better tracks on it.
Yep.
You do have Derek's vocal diversity coming through and on display, so that was a sign of things to come as well for the band. But overall, not a very strong release, and definitely suffering from like the Roots hangover.
That's funny because that's exactly what I have wrote down. That says against new metal / Roots hangover, because it's like, are we still new metal? Oh, wait, are we still doing this? Or what's going on right now? I'm not real sure.
Yeah.
Got the new singer. He wasn't really involved in writing anything anyway, because he actually demoed with one of the songs that was on here. I don't know if you remember us talking about that, but he had demoed one of these, his vocals to one of these songs for this album. So he was kind of stepping in, but same thing, very simple riffs. There are dynamics, but I think that's where like the new metal hangover, because new metal's always about those dynamics. Get real quiet during the verse, make some little waka waka noises, and then like
the bass is driving
builder.
it.
Yeah, so like they have some of that going on. Starts off punk, so automatically I want to throw it right in the garbage as soon as I hear it, because you start off with a punk song.
Yep.
Sorry, punkers. Love you.
I know.
Choke was a pretty good song, because I think that's like the second or third song. So when that comes on, you're like, okay, this is kind of metal.
Yeah.
But same songs. Boycott, very new metal with the sounds.
Yep.
Common Bonds, very root sounding, but it was a cool track. Reza, weird punky sounding track. The mix is very weird on it, so I don't know if it's like this off track on there, and it ends real jammy. So Against was my 13 as well. So
yeah,
that's all I got to say about that. album.
Sure.
I mean, it might be your thing. I would say listen to it. It's worth a listen. But for me, it just ranks very low. I just feel like we're in a very weird time with the band. What was going on? It is a strange time. How are we going to jump back from losing Max? And
it didn't
new management, stuff like that.
The riffs are too simple, and it's a little bit too noisy.
Yep.
So moving on from that, and
I'll say this before we even move on.
Sure.
I'm surprised we already got those three together, because I thought we were going to have a completely different list. But
I'm actually not surprised. I think we might see this is where we're going to splinter off a little bit. But for me, at number 12, hot take incoming, Roots.
Damn.
Yeah. I listened to it again recently, just last night, just to be sure, because I was comparing it to like the whole catalog.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with this album. Like, it starts off strong, and I got a love-hate relationship with it, because I do love the songs that I love, but when I listen back to it, it's very few songs on there that I actually love. So those songs being the first three. You got Roots, Bloody Roots, Attitude, and Cutthroat. And then as I'm waiting for the rest of the album to unfold, maybe Straight Hate and Born Stubborn kind of jump out at me. But this album suffers from way too much tribal instrumentation, the chants, the percussiveness all day long. I'm just dying. I'm like, next song, please. Next song, please. Next song, please. And it's slow and it drags. And to me, it was like the beginning of the end of Sepultura, where I know it's their most popular album and a lot of people love it, but I can also see a lot of like fans saying, no, this is I abandoned ship right here. So to me, like a lot of people are like they're Max diehard era fans, but I think a lot of those fans even jump off at Roots. They're like, no thanks. It doesn't sound like any of their prior work. It is unique, and the nostalgia factor does creep in. But as I was listening to it last night, I was like, yeah, but that's only existing for like a couple of songs. Then the rest of the stuff, I'm like, I don't really want to hear it now. I don't think it aged very well.
Okay.
And I think that this is where we're going to see the list kind of start to to get different. But those are
I like your points, though. I see where you're coming from. Like they're all valid points.
Yeah.
I get it after listening to it 3 or 4 times since doing all this research. So
that's how I feel about that album. Jay, what do you got coming in at number 12?
So for me at number 12 is the record Nation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So to me, Nation did come after Against.
Correct.
So it's the one right after it, March 2020 or 2001, Roadrunner Records. It's they're steering back in the metal direction.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say it again on here, but Slipknot has surfaced.
Yep. They're surfacing.
So, people are like, oh shit, we can be heavy again. Slipknot, they're on Roadrunner.
Yeah.
Sepultura, why don't you not play new metal no more? But Supple Nation, good groovy opening, reminds me of a Chaos AD track. So we're kind of starting to harken back of like what have we done before. One Man Army is a great track. Roarback is metal and punk. Very very early Sepultura inspired riffs and song structure. Strong vocal performance.
Yeah.
But yeah. So oh shit. But yeah, Nation, there wasn't much there for me to grab onto. It was just kind of I think we're still coming upon our own, and we're not really, we're not still figuring out our sound with Derek. I think we're getting a little closer, but yeah. So I'm going to piggyback off of that, and at number 11, I'm talking Nation.
Okay. And so we are now 2 albums removed from Roots. This one follows up Against. And I feel like I agree with you when you say like we're starting to get to know Derek a little bit better and utilize his skill set. I would rather listen to this than Roots. I feel like there's way less of that tribal jamminess.
For sure.
And it still does have that new metal vibe, but I think we have better riffs for that style. Like I don't really feel like I want to listen to Against again, but if somebody were to say like put on Roots, I would turn around and say, have you guys ever listened to Nation? Because it's like that's a better follow up to Roots, and I would actually rather listen to it because I don't have 30 minutes of jamming out in the forest. Yeah, like I don't. That's not. I'm sorry, that's not metal. Like it's cool and it gives you some identity and it's unique, but I don't really need half an album. That album is like 66 minutes long, and that last track is 12 minutes of jamming, with a tribe. And
you're speaking of Roots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they talked about how they had so much stuff they couldn't even figure out how to put a cohesive album together, so that's why it does sound like that,
And it's not just that last track. It's like half of the album to me.
Yeah, there's a lot in there.
So for Nation, I've got Supple Nation was a good track. Border Wars I really liked. One Man Army, The Ways of Faith, and Sage, once you get past the intro. Water and Valtio, all good. The last track, Valtio, was a good... The last 2, Water and Valtio, were a good combo for an outro to the album. Kind of like gave it some breath and some decompression, and I really liked the instrumentation and the melody there. So roaring back a little bit, getting there with Nation, I found that these days I would rather listen to Nation than Roots.
Okay.
So that's me.
That's fair. That's fair.
So what do you got at 11, Jay?
For me, 11, I actually kind of jumped into it because I read the wrong thing. But for me, 11 would be the album Roarback.
Okay.
So very metal, very punk. There are that's where I was reading. I read the wrong thing here, but very early in Sepultura inspired riffs and song structure.
Yeah.
The vocal performance on this, I feel like Derek is really coming into his own on this as far as vocal performance. And that's one thing that stuck out to me was his strong vocal performance during this record. To me, it was a little more straightforward. Not as many like little fucking minuets of different sounds and tribal this and acoustic this or whatever. More of just like a metal punk record that were coming out. It's a little more raw in the production to me too. This was an SPV release. So I wonder if the budget and recording had something to do with that maybe. But good standout track was Corrupted. Their great groove on there. As It is a good mid-paced jam. And then they have this really quirky outro, and it's really the only remnants kind of on Roarback that's outside of like a distorted, they may have a little thing here or there, but not as much as the other albums have infused the other little instrumentals and different orchestrations that they've come to even use more on later albums. But this one to me was just a little more like, let's get in and let's just crank out these 10, 11 songs and let's rip it through. It does come in at 11 for me, but I think this is probably one of their better records. I mean, it's ranked, but for me, I would rock this one because I do like the straightforwardness of it.
Yeah, it was a good album for me. I'll have more to say on it in a few minutes. But yeah, they definitely were really finding their sound and their groove with Derek at that point. For me, at number 10, I'm talking about Alex.
Okay.
I wanted to like this album. I really tried. I listened to it twice over to make sure I was going to rank it this low. it just didn't do much for me. There is the Alex like theme that they use. They do 1, 2, 3 instrumental tracks on there titled Alex.
Yep.
And they kind of keep bringing that same theme back, but they didn't really tie in with the rest of the album necessarily. And I felt like it just kind of dragged. And then it goes out on a whimper with like the last 2 tracks. You've got the Ludwig van,
yeah.
and then the after that, I'm just kind of like, by the time I get to both of those tracks, I like going back and listening to that album again, I would just cut it off. I wouldn't even listen to them. Like, they don't really make a whole lot of sense to me. I do prefer it to like some of that old school that they were doing, like Morbid Visions and Schizophrenia. I would rather listen to this.
Yeah.
A lot more instrumentation going on, a lot more space to breathe. But I don't know. I guess some standout tracks were We've Lost You, which, agreed, you did kind of lose me here. Metamorphosis, Sadistic Values stood out to me, even though it takes a few minutes to get going properly. But yeah, Alex wasn't their strongest release. It definitely harkens to some progressive elements that they would get into in their career along the way. But overall, not their best, not their worst though. But it's going to hold the 10 spot for me.
Okay. So for 10 spot for me is going to be the mediator between head and hands must be the heart.
Okay.
The reason why this one ranks so low for me is almost kind of some of the same reasons that Alex didn't rank for you. Just nothing grabbed me on this album. Like,
okay.
I just nothing. And it was one of the last ones I listened to out of all of, like, right before we even wrote this. I mean, don't get me wrong. There were some good jams on there. I definitely liked it as a good, solid metal record. I mean, 10 spot, they have so much good music, so, like, 10 spot isn't a bad spot out of 15 records, but that's just where this one lands for me. I don't really have too many notes on it either. I know it starts off kind of weird, like kind of this punky, weird song, like song number 1.
Yep.
So if I was just going to expect a whole album of that, it almost reminded me of Against, where it just starts off kind of like, I get it, they're punk and thrash roots or whatever, but I'm just so anti-punk that, you know what I mean? Just because it just, when I hear it, it just, it's like nails on a chalkboard. I just can't do, like, that upbeat shit just drives me crazy. I don't know. So
same.
But not a bad record. They were on Nuclear Blast at this time, so the production was better. I feel like they might have had a better budget. It did remind me a little bit of Roarback, where it was just like, it seemed to be a lot of metal in there, which was very cool. Very good song structures, and I'm sure you'll have a little bit more to speak on this album. I know we had prefaced this on the Last Week on Earth, but I know you'll speak a little more onto it when it ranks for you. But yeah, that one it was just kind of real, it was better than the rest, but not as good as some of the stuff that I want to speak on after this. So
okay. Yeah, so moving on to my number 9 rank album of all time in Sepultura world, and another hot take incoming here. I know some people are going to disagree hard on this one, but I'm going Beneath the Remains.
Okay.
I could see a lot of diehards loving this album and ranking it number 1. I could see that all day long. It's a solid thrash metal album, but that's where I draw the line. That's what it is. It's a solid thrash metal album. But just the same, it could be a Creator album. It could be an old school Testament album. This doesn't really, to me, I'm not feeling like this is one of their best albums. It's just a really good thrash metal album. And it's all thrash all day long.
Yep.
Duka chaka, duka chaka.
Yep. Duka chaka, duka chaka.
I cannot really listen to 50 minutes of that on end.
Fair.
Standout tracks for me are the first 2. Self-titled, Beneath the Remains, Inner Self. You get out to the middle of the album, you got Slaves of Pain, pretty good track. But overall, I can't recommend this one too much. Again, I would rather listen to it than everything I spoke to before.
True.
Depending on the mood, like, do I need a thrash metal album to really get going? Like, I could, if I got a drive to make, maybe I could put it on, like, I'm a little bit of a hurry. I'm have the pedal to the metal, maybe.
Yep.
Like I'm getting stoked up for a concert. Maybe I want to throw this on for the hype. But overall, for a listening experience where I might just be sitting down and enjoying myself, I'm probably not going to enjoy this one all the way through. I would probably just cherry pick songs from it, mix it in. but and definitely like being like their third album, strong, super strong.
Oh yeah.
But I think that they would go on to better things, and I will talk about those better things that they went on to as the list moves on. But for me, I know it's definitely low for some people, but I had to be honest with myself. Like, how often would I go back to this album? Given the whole, like, hey, pick any Sepultura album, I'm not really gonna reach for this one very often. It's a great album. I know I saw some comments where people are like, this one's the one, and I get it, that reflects your tastes, and
Yes.
I kind of came from this, like, but
Been there, done that kind of thing.
But for me, and I looked up this term last night, you get musical paralysis.
Yes.
At some point in your life, you hit that 30-year mark or whatever, you kind of stop listening to new music. We got friends that Slayer all day, but up until a point, and I like to think that I still evolve. Keeps me young. I like to listen to new music, so I don't go back to this old school thrash that often. But it is a great album, honestly. I just don't think it sounds so much like Sepultura as we know and love.
Mm-hmm.
And the sound that they developed, it just sounds like they were really dialed in on that thrash thing before they really started to create their own sound.
Yes,
but I'm gonna place the Beneath the Remains album at number 9.
Not a bad placement.
So number 9 for you, Jason.
So number 9 for me. We're gonna roll with Alex.
Okay.
So this came out 2009 in SPV. To me, this has a little bit of everything. The opening is pretty epic, then it kind of goes into some punk thrash. There's soul groove. To me, the reason why this ranks a little higher is because I feel like this was a stepping stone, in my eyes, where the guitar work starts to become a little more prevalent back in whereas even Nation, Roarback, you got Against, coming off of Roots, we're kind of going away from guitar, more percussive, more songwriting. But I feel like Alex is when we really start getting into like the guitar playing again. So that's why this one really stood out to me, because I'm paying attention to the guitar, and it was the treatment, really cool, groovy song. Metamorphosis, slow, weird song with clean vocals. It was a different track, but it was very like 9 Inch Nails inspired to me.
Okay.
The same track stood out to me, Sadistic Values, that you had placed on there, and then I thought the Ludwig van. Maybe I wouldn't listen to it all the time, but I just thought it was kind of cool because I was kind of like, what is this? And then knowing that the Alex all deals with the Clockwork Orange ethos.
Yeah.
So it represents that a little bit. So then when you're kind of bringing in some of that classical, I can kind of see some scenes of the movie in my head. You know what I mean? So it kind of like tied it all in for me.
Right.
It's still number 9 on the list.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like it's high, but I did like it a little bit more than you liked it. I mean, obviously, it's what you get out of it. That's what we love about music. It's subjective, right? So,
and
I personally thought it was a pretty damn cool record. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. I'm not, I mean, we're only like one off from the, like where I ranked it. So I just felt like upon a second listen and a really like clear listen to it that there weren't enough solid tracks on it. It did kind of ebb and flow, and it moved a lot of different directions at times. I just felt like it wasn't strong enough, and it didn't have enough strength on it to really rank it much higher than I did. Yeah. And for that matter, where you ranked it. But moving ahead from Alex,
we on 8, my brother.
Yeah, we on number 8, and I'm gonna drop Roarback in the mix here.
Okay.
I think this is where, for me, I start to see that we're coming out of that Roots hangover for sure.
Yep.
And as you mentioned earlier, we've got solid songs. It's still a bit nu metal-esque, but I think that, it's really stripped down. We cut a lot of that tribal influence out, even though it is a main part of their sound. It's still in there, like a little bit. Just you can't get away from it at this point. But they don't have a lot of the little minuets. It's just song after song after song. It goes pretty hard. It's really straightforward. I noticed a lot of bass drops on it, like very uncharacteristic of the band. Like I never really, I don't think that exists on any other album, but there's definitely several distinct bass drops on this album where I was like, that's different. So that must have been something they discovered. I thought the production was kind of on the crisp side. Like everything just seemed a little bit louder. Maybe it's just a particular YouTube mix I was, listening to.
Yeah.
But I liked it. Tracks that stood out to me were Godless, More of the Same, Urge, As It Is, and Bottomed Out. So those are the ones that really jumped out at me. I could see if you're a weightlifter or you're just getting your swole on, like those songs will definitely kick you into high gear. I appreciated this album. It was, like I said, just straightforward.
Yep.
It's still a bit on the new metal side, but I could appreciate it. I think it was more well done than, Roots, Against, and Nation.
Yeah.
So I can mess with it. I appreciated it.
Cool. All right. So number 8, we're gonna go with Dante 21.
Okay.
So this came out in 2006.
Yep.
And comes out heavy, but very dynamic record.
Yeah.
Convicted in Life is a great song. That Convicted in Life tells me, like, hey, Sepultura we're coming back.
Yeah.
We're coming back around. So still Flame, that's a cool instrumental track on there. There's like some vocals on it, but they almost treat it like a sample. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Like the way they decided to only throw kind of this one vocal on there. And I think it's called Ostia. Very interesting and cool song. There's like violin and other samples and stuff going on.
Okay.
It's funny, that particular song, it's like 2 notes off from the My Own Summer riff. They like changed it last two notes, and I'm just like, I get it happens, and you know what I mean? It's hard to write a riff you haven't heard before, but it's like so blatant. I'm like, man, that's completely My Own Summer, but I'm not expecting them to even know who Deftones is or listen to their catalog or really care. But sometimes you just come up with riffs and they sound like other things, so it is what it is.
It's funny. It's funny you say that, and I don't know if it was that song that did that to me too. But as I was listening to their catalog, I was like, "That's My Own Summer," but
yeah,
just a little
2 notes at the end.
Just a little
like,
end tag was different.
Yeah.
And I also thought though, like that's not really a very difficult riff, and that riff's probably been played upon many times and done even before that. They just really nailed it on that for the Deftones.
And it was popular.
Yeah.
So there could be 10 other bands that have the same kind of riff or same riff.
For
you
sure.
just didn't hear it, But I did enjoy Dante.
A lot.
Very, very good record. I know when we spoke on the episodes, they were kind of like a little off-put because of the actual art on it and the logo and that. Like they were saying, it's not metal or whatever, but I thought this was a pretty metal record, and I felt like this is another stepping stone when they start adding these different instrumental things that aren't just like the tribal things. They start adding more orchestration and more samples and stuff like that. It'd be interesting to see how they pull that off live. I'm wondering if they're like going to a click track and playing this stuff through the PA, which I'm assuming that's what's happening because they're only a 4-piece. But yeah, I just thought there was more in there to keep the album interesting. It was heavy at the same time, but a lot of dynamics. But we're not pulling from the same old bag of tricks in this one.
Yeah.
This one we are exploring other sounds, other samples, other avenues producing-wise. Like where it's not just guitar, bass, and drum-driven music.
Yeah.
Where they've always been really good about not just doing that. They've always had a good mix of throwing in a lot of things. But I felt like Dante was and then knowing what comes after that, I'm like, okay, this is where we start getting into some of these worldly and other sounds. So, did like Dante, cool-ass record.
Agree, and I'm going to piggyback off of that because coming in at number 7 for me, Dante 21.
Okay, cool.
I agree with a lot of your points. I feel like it's a shorter album, so it's really concise. It's cohesive. It flows really well. Like, they did a really good job of moving from one track to the next, so it's not like jilted, like we're slow, we're fast and punk.
Yeah.
This is a really good album. Should be noted that this is Igor Cavalera's last album with the band.
2006,
I feel like it's a really great Sepultura album, one that I would recommend to people, like, have you tried this one? It's pretty good. It rips from the start once you get past that 1-minute intro, so basically like track 2. It's a shorter album, so you can get a lot of miles out of it. You don't feel like it takes forever to listen to. I think it clocks in at like 40 minutes, so it's got a lot of replayability. I feel like it has a great balance, utilizing their thrash roots, meet some of the more modern production and some improved songwriting and musicianship. We got melody coming back into the fold, like hand over fist. We got a lot of melody here.
A lot of melody.
Yep. We're definitely like we're out of the roots hangover now. We're for sure cleared it. This doesn't sound like any of the previous 3 or 4 albums. If you got Roots, Against, Nation, Roarback. Now we're finally like completely cleared of that hurdle. One of the things that really stood out to me was the instrumentation usage. especially with Limbo. You've got the violin, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
I love that song so much. They did such a great job with that one. They did a lot of great things on this album. City of Dis, False, Fighting On, and Still Flame, other tracks that jumped out at me as I was taking note. And again, you can get a lot of miles out of this one just because of the fact that it's short, especially for them in their catalog. It might be their shortest one. I'm not 100% on that, but being that it's heavy, but also has a lot of melody, just for me right there, I'm like all day with that. Like, I'm not buried in thrash metal. I'm not buried in punk. I'm not buried in a lot of the tribal instrumentation, the percussion. I don't want to sound like I'm opposed to that sort of thing, but I just need like smaller doses of it.
Right.
Because it's just percussion a lot of the times. Unless we get into like the flamenco Spanish guitar playing that Andreas would eventually introduce as well over time. But great album, Dante 21.
Cool.
Big ups on that one.
Oh, yeah. So that was your 7. So 7 for me has got to be Kairos.
Okay.
This was 2011 on Nuclear Blast. And this is Eloy's first record with them, I believe. Eloy Casagrande. I believe this is the first time he appeared on this record. Was it?
No.
No, it's not? Well,
No.
When is he on?
He comes in next in 2013 with The Mediator.
Oh, so he's not, so there's a different drummer on this one.
Yep, it was.
Okay, cool. We talked about it. We did talk about it in the...
I've got it noted here. This is Gene Dolabella's last album.
That's right.
He quit pretty short after this album dropped. And he did quit in 2011. The album came out in 2011.
Yep. So I knew it was right around here. We had talked about that on the Sepultura bio. I just couldn't remember if the dude did an album. I know his stint was short, but I wasn't sure if he was just touring or he actually did an album. But Kairos, number 7. Title track is great. It's a really heavy album. To me, it was kind of throwback metal. This is where some leads are starting to come back in the mix. Like, hey, here's some guitar playing for you guys.
Yep.
Relentless is a song that stuck out because the riffs on it, it's like almost like there's some down-tuned guitar on here, like I should say 7 strings. But like you listen to the song Relentless, and if you close your eyes, you're like, is Alan West from Obituary playing on this song? Because it's literally like all Obituary riffs, like something Alan West would play rhythm-wise and everything. Not that it's a bad thing. I thought it was fucking cool. I was like, cool, this reminds me of Obituary. And then the Just One Fixed, which is a Ministry cover, they have that on there, which like as soon as it came out, it was kind of a weird placement for me on the record because I'm like, this sounds just like Ministry as it's coming in, and then he starts singing. I'm like, oh, this is Ministry. Yeah. But because like usually kind of put the covers towards the end or something, but you're like, why is the cover like song 3 or 4? Like it's kind of like, where did that come from? Yeah. But it's still a good record, good cover of that song, and then like the song Mask too really stuck out to me because it's a very old school metal, and there's actually some grind in it, so that stuck out to me. I mean, it's only for like a second. It's like da 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 da, and that's about it. But I'm just like, well, there's a grind. Fuck, you don't hear much of that from Sepultura. Even they used to be considered death metal, but that was more of the thrash type shit. But Kairos, all in all, great record, man. I really like this one.
It's funny how our lists are somewhat similar here because moving into my number 6, you might have already guessed, coming in with Kairos.
Okay.
Last album with their drummer Gene Dolabella, so he was on Alex and Kairos.
Yep. Okay.
I do feel like this album is chock full of like nonstop bangers, no frills, no space, just solid track after track. My only negatives on it are the cover songs. I don't need the Ministry cover.
Yeah.
I didn't really care for it. I mean, it kind of fits the album with like, the way that they did it, especially, it sounds like the other songs on the album.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe like you got the label leaning into your ear saying, hey, do one that the people know, so that we get some hits on it. Like do one that you like, but that people know.
Yeah.
There's always that possibility. Or maybe just everybody in the band was like, hey, this is a fun song. Let's
we love
do it.
Ministry.
Yeah.
Because they toured with them back in the day and shit. So, yeah.
And I really don't need the Prodigy cover. Like, does nothing for me.
Yeah, I don't need any Prodigy in my life ever, thanks. But if you're a fan, cool, just not me.
Yeah, same. Like, I really can't appreciate that music very well. I do think this album would be for fans of like Chaos AD even, or like it's kind of like Roarback on steroids.
Yeah,
like it's just
steroids back.
Yep. a lot of groove, a lot of solid riffs. We're after Dante, and we're well cleared of the new metal hangover, and now we're starting to sound like a metal band again. We have more intricate riffage. The album does lose me at the end a bit, but it does close with a solid track. Titles that I liked were the opener, Spectrum. Like, I could ride that groove all day. Really great track to start the album. Kairos was great. Relentless, as you mentioned.
Yep.
Cool solo and the rhythm that followed it. So Relentless really stood out to me as well. Dialogue was good. Another solo in that. Mask, noted. Solo. Seethe, solo. We're bringing solos back.
Yep.
Born Strong, great track. Embrace the Storm, another solo.
Yep.
And Point of No Return. So again, now I'm listing off more songs to emphasize the point that this is like a really strong album and chock full of bangers. Maybe a couple of skips in there, which is why it's at 6 and now higher.
Yeah.
But I could really appreciate this album. I was really surprised the first time I listened to it, and then I was like, okay, I want to make sure where I'm placing this. And so when I circled back to listen to it a second time, I was like, nope, I was right. Got a lot of bangers on here. I really love what we're doing with the guitar leads now. We're not listening to new metal. We're listening to heavy metal. It sounds a little bit more modern. Now it's 13 years old, but like we have completely removed ourselves from like the roots hangover,
Yeah.
as it were,
Yep.
which we kind of already established with Dante.
Yeah.
But this album does not sound like Dante.
Right.
It sounds like a different album.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's really great. I really loved it. So if you haven't heard Kairos, get on board with that one. I really love Andreas Kisser's work on this album, especially in the lead department.
Very metal cover too, like the skeleton looking Reaper thing or whatever is on there. It's like, okay, this is a metal album, and we're on Nuclear Blast. So
yeah,
here you go.
So what do you got for number 6, Jason?
All right, so this is where our list definitely are going to see a fork in the road here, because my number 6 is Beneath the Remains.
Okay,
1989 banger, just coming out. Tight right hands. I think the problem for me, I don't want to identify it as a problem, but I think the issue for me is some of this has just got nostalgia attached to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when we talked about 6 Feet Under. Like, I don't love 6 Feet Under, but those 2 first albums, I remember us hanging out, doing things, being places.
Yep.
It just brings me back to that. So Beneath the Remains is kind of like that for me. And I also felt like, since I went to revisit it for the Sepultura Bio episodes, when I revisited it, it was way better than I remember it being before, just because of they're like, you kind of know Max and Soulfly, and you're kind of like, oh, just a lazy 4-string right hand. But when you go back and listen to this, and you hear how tight them right hands are, bro, and like how riffy them riffs are, like like to your point, it's a thrash record.
Yep.
But for me, I'm pulling Beneath the Remains out before I pull out Overkill or like an older school Testament. I like some of the Testament's newer melodic stuff more, but like for me, that's where this kind of differs, because I would pull this record out before any other thrash record. I pull this record out, unfortunately, before any other Slayer record too.
Yeah,
I mean,
fair.
At least in their like maybe not Divine Intervention, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
But other than that, if I want to listen to thrash, I'm pulling out Beneath the Remains.
Okay.
That's where I'm at with that. The drums are great on it. I think for it's 1989, baby.
Yeah.
So it's like the drums were played so well. Lots of Slayer influence, great tunes in herself. There's the acoustic elements there, so that's what I liked about it, is also breaking it up.
Okay.
And Sepultura, like I said, has always been good about that, where you always emphasize that. Let's just not have 5 minutes of
the whole time,
and then 50 minutes of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
So they've always been good with throwing some other elements in there, but Primitive Future, that's just such a banger of a song. So number 6 for me, Beneath the Remains. It was a better record than what I thought, and that's why it got so high, basically.
I think one of the things that I failed to mention about that album, though, and I'll say it now while we're on the subject before we move on, is it's probably, I think it's got to be their most technical piece in their entire catalog, with the speed and the riffage. Just those 2 things alone, I think it's their most technical piece. I mean, I would compare it to like an And Justice for All or a Rust in Peace style album, because they are going balls to the wall, thrash metal. And again, because other bands have done that style and are more to my liking, like I would prefer to listen to some of those thrash metal albums. That's just why I kind of had it where I did. But yeah, it's a great album. I'm not trying to down it at all. I just feel like I don't have the nostalgia factor attached to it.
Yeah.
But it is a great album. It's a great thrash metal album.
Okay.
But moving on, for me at number 5, and again, this is where we do start to see our lists really kind of diverge and fork, because I was really taken over by the mediator between the head and hands must be the heart. Here we've got the first album with Eloy Casagrande on the drums, and we see a return of Ross Robinson as producer into the fold, which actually is a disservice to this album. It does suffer for his production, I feel like. He really likes to produce a dirty, noisy album, and he does things that almost trample the sound, and they're not musical. So that's the only deterrent for me. I do like some of the production in terms of like how raw it is, how they almost like they kind of revisited, like he wanted to outdo Roots, and I think for that he did, and that's because it's not 30 minutes of the tribal chants and percussion that's on the album. I think we have more riffage going on here, and I made sure to listen to this one twice in the last week just to let it settle, and then like, man, that kind of like, I'm feeling like I want to go back and listen to that because something on there was calling to me, and so I made sure I listened to it again for the proper placement on my list where I feel like I want to rank it, and this is like light years beyond Roots. Once I get past the noise of like he does some things that almost feel like clipping or like broken like speaker cone sounds.
Yeah,
like
he's a very like raw in the moment kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like everything is live as possible.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of his sound, and that's
almost
kind of where he grew was before all the metronome and stuff. I'm sure they use one, but it's like that was his like being in the room and jamming stuff. Like a lot of those like earlier nu metal records were kind of like that, just very raw and capturing the emotion, which is good, but not if it's to the detriment of the production like you speak of.
Yeah, there's a lot of raw tones. I feel like we're like playing with like the input jack at times just to like get noise, and he just does things. He just does like it's.
Yeah.
He does a lot of that on like, but. Excuse me, where did that come from? I feel
that
like
was Ross.
That's going on the next album. That's for you, Ross.
That was Ross. Right
Great producer. He's definitely different. He distinguishes himself amongst his peers with his style. I just felt like some of that stuff was a little bit off-putting, but that being said, this album does go places. It comes out of the gate swinging. But yet this album does have a lot of space to breathe. I thought that was kind of a theme of the album is no matter how hard they go or how much they groove, there's a little bit of space between the tracks, either with intros. We've got some slower tracks. I felt like we had some really intricate riffs in here, and it was a solid effort by Andreas Kisser. I didn't really care for the opening track too much, Trauma of War, but I'm really
same.
I'm really going in after that. We've got the sound that you hear on the opening track is the sound that you're going to get for the rest of the album in terms of tone and just the way he's picking the strings, like right by the bridge, that really open, like almost sounds like he's playing with the side of the pick. It's a tone thing for me that you get throughout the rest of the album. Things start to pick up on track 2 with the Vatican. This song sets the tone for like the kind of spacing that you can expect throughout the album. You got the long intros, really moody. Got some cool riffs and licks throughout. Punishing drums, keep the album driving. Not the most melodic. It's full of piss and vinegar. Definitely a big attitude album, but the attitude is backed up by the music and the riffs. Other tracks that I really appreciated were Impending Doom, Manipulation of Tragedy, heavy as fuck.
Impending Doom's a great one.
Very classic Sepultura sound. Tsunami, The Bliss of Ignorance, Grief, it's slow, dark, emotive, progressively heavy, and Obsessed and Stagnant State of Affairs, heavy grooving closer of the album. So this one for me, I really appreciated it. I made sure to listen to it a couple of times. The 1 to get to know it, and then the 2 to be sure like I'm going to rank it higher. I'm really going to rank it that high? And I'm like, man, why not? I mean, I really appreciate it. I really dig it. So other than some moments where I'm like, Ross, settle down with the noise, like it didn't really turn me off from the whole album. I was just kind of curious, as I'm listening to it. Like, I listen to all these with the headphones on, so I'm getting like the full, in the moment, in my head sound. But really, really big love for this album. Love it. So the Mediator for me is in the top 5 all-time Sepultura albums.
Nice. Good. Glad that one struck you like that. Not a bad record at all. So number 5 for me, and we're getting into probably closer to what a normal Sepultura fan would rank things.
Sure.
I'm going Roots.
Okay.
Roots at 5.
Right on.
For me, this album I listened to it the most.
Yeah.
Out of every Sepultura, I jammed it a lot. I mean, I do agree. You kind of start off with the hard 3 songs at the beginning
Mhm.
and you're kind of pummeled, and then like it kind of takes a turn. But for me, I really like tracks like Look Away,
Mhm.
the Rata Mahata. It's not the greatest track. It's in Portuguese, obviously, but
Yep.
like Jonathan Davis is on it, so I thought that was kind of a cool thing. And then it ends with like dictatorship shit, which is like a punk thrash. So they kind of like try to tie it back into some of their old roots, I guess.
Yeah.
But for me, this is just comes in with the nostalgia factor. I've loved this album. There's not a lot of thrash on it, but it is very heavy. It's very groovy. You can call it new metal. Can you not? I don't know. You guys answer that question in the comments. You and I discussed that. We don't have to go too deep into it because I think you said what needs to be said about it.
Sure.
Yeah, it does trail off. Yeah, you can get a little lost. But for me, I kind of like the journey because those tracks that do veer off, if you kind of put yourself in there, you do feel like you're in the woods in Brazil. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you do feel like you're hanging out around the
yeah.
campfire. Is it metal? Not really, but it's cool that they did something so different like this and were kind of the pioneers to incorporate their heritage and some of these world sounds in there. So I just got to give them credit for that. I do like the record. Plus Mike Patton's on it, so you already get 2 spots up just for having Mike Patton on it. And yeah, I mean that's about it. That's all I got to say. I mean, it's not number 1 for me, and it's not number however low in the list for me.
Right.
But it does give a solid top 5, and I think that's fair just because of how much I did listen to the record, and I remember going back. I listened to it again when we did the like bio episodes, and I just remember I was like, this is actually a lot. See, I kind of had the other reaction that you had. I said this was actually better than I remember with this intentional listen, whereas you kind of were like, yeah, there's a lot of shit that I could do without on here. I was like, oh, this is actually heavier than what I thought because after a while being removed from it, you're kind of like another new metal record.
Sure.
Which I don't want to say that because there's a lot of new metal I fucking like, but there's so much I don't like that as soon as you say new metal, it just kind of fucking lift the rug, sweep it under. Out of sight, out of mind. You're not snot. I guess I don't want to hear it. Fuck it.
Well, I mean, it definitely was a very unique album. They come in probably with the drop guitar tuning for the first time in their career.
Yep.
It's production wise, you've got Ross Robinson, so it has a way different quality to it from the polished albums that you hear leading up to it. This one is a total diversion from the polished sounds of prior albums. However, as stated, like once I get past them first 3 songs, I got about 2 or 3 in me for the rest of that album, and I feel like it was kind of like the beginning of the end. So a lot of people are like, again, as stated, they're stuck on the Max era, but then I challenge any of those fans to tell me how much they really appreciate Roots, you know, and if they're like, well, I like everything before Roots, and I would say, I got some tunes for you after he leaves the band.
Yeah.
I got some albums you want to follow up with if you like everything before Roots but don't really need it. You missed out on some good albums with Derek Green.
And then there's your other kind of fan too. So like in the comments, what I was like, you know, what's your favorite Sepultura record?
Yeah.
Our buddy Mayhan was like Soulfly, and I was like, no.
No.
I was like, no. But there's people that just like Soulfly. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But that's just his taste, and that's cool, man.
Yeah,
More power you too. He is in more of that new metal. He likes a lot more of that kind of commercial type stuff too. So that's just his style. But yeah, I wouldn't go that far at all. But but if you can't say only Soulfly if you've never listened to anything after Roots. So please don't come at me with that. No. But you're entitled to your opinion. If that's what you like, that's what you like. I'm cool with not.
Yeah.
So.
I like Max. I think he's a really like lovable guy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I could see when he jumps out and then he goes out and does Soulfly, I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any of it. I don't think I like any of it. I haven't listened to all of that to really say, but never once have I heard a Soulfly song and been like, oh, that's amazing.
Right.
I want to buy that album. Never once.
Yeah, I skimmed through some of it, and he just kind of does. I mean, it's not just new metal. You know what I mean? Because that was kind of the transition was go to Soulfly from Roots.
Yeah.
And that was a new metal record, but some of the later stuff does just turn back into the old Max Duka Duka.
Thrash metal.
He just eats, breathes, and sleeps Duka Dukas, man. I swear to fucking God.
Duka checka.
So, all right, man, what you got? We're on 4.
So now we're into the top 4, and I think it's ironic that our lists do kind of reflect each other. Maybe outside of the middle, the beginning, and the end are going to start to look alike here. But for me, and I could see any one of these next 4 albums, I would agree if anybody was like, that's their best album. And that's fine. But I made sure to listen to them front to back and be sure about placement. I'm rocking Chaos AD at number 4. I love this album immediately. The first time I heard it, so much so that I traded it. I tried to get it off of you by trading Arise to you, which in the grand scheme of things is going down as a bad trade at my end, but not the worst one ever.
Man, I feel like I owe you, dude.
Like you robbed me.
Yeah, a couple times.
But I listened to it again, and I'm okay with the trade because I do love this album.
Yeah, it's a great album.
It's really good. It's actually better than I remember it. Because on the back end, it does have some really strong songs as well. It's really hard to deny this, no matter who's on the microphone. This is a solid Sepultura album. And this has actually got some good vocal diversity from Max on this one. They used a lot of effects to kind of give him more of a clean sound at times, which helped. Like, I appreciate it. It's just not Max doing, like, his raw vocal the whole time. They did some things to give it some atmosphere. A lot of hard, heavy groove, awesome percussion. This might be Igor's best work in terms of percussion. And I say that because he gets away from that thrash beat on this album. It's almost not a thrash album, but there are elements of thrash along the way. But he's just all over the toms. And for that reason alone, just the way he works the kit, I think it might be his best work. Strongest songs. I mean, I'm tempted to say the best run of 3, but it's actually their second best run of 3 songs, and that's the Refuse, Resist, Territory, Slave, New World.
Yeah.
Starting an album out like that, like they were almost pretty consistent about that throughout their career. It's just that them first 3 songs are all bangers.
Yeah.
But even Amen was a good song.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got I felt like this would be a roadmap for later Sepultura. Like they would kind of come back. You know, once they got over the Roots hangover, they kind of started to settle into like back into this sound.
Yes.
And so I feel like if you're a fan of Chaos AD, you're really going to love like the last 4 albums that this band has put out.
Yeah, I agree.
Other good tracks on this I noted were Propaganda, Nomad, We Who Are Not As Others, just with that grooving tribal drum beat, Manifest, crazy drum work, and Clenched Fist is a great album closer. Banger of an album start to finish. Probably not many skips on it. Maybe a couple, but I'm putting it number 4. I just appreciate this album, near and dear to my heart, and still good, still relevant, and it's not full of thrash beat to the point where I got to turn it off. So I love the groove on it. I love the tribal drum work on it, and it's just metal as fuck all day.
Okay, so 4 for me is Chaos AD.
Oh wow!
So we are in lockstep with this one. To me, I had mentioned this on the bio episodes. To me, it was like kind of Pantera inspired, just with the groove, like kind of like I said, this is kind of Pantera's world. This is the kind of music we're kind of more into this groove. We're getting out of the thrash a little bit, and some more of this like groove, heavy hitting kind of metal is in. Also, you can tell it's inspired by like a Ministry or some of this industrial 9 Inch Nails type things, just because of some of the. Not even just the artwork, but just a few of the sounds and some of the songs. Like there's this industrious, like kind of overtone to it. You know, I wouldn't say it's industrial, but you could almost say this is where they're incorporating other sounds. Very unique songs like Amen. Not much guitar in it, but still good songs. There's not a lot of thrash on this, so we've kind of come away from that. But if you go into like Biotech is Godzilla, there are some thrash elements in there. Manifest is thrashy at a lot of points, and Clenched Fist is also thrashy at points. So they didn't get rid of the thrash, but they are stepping away from all of the thrash that was on the first 3 records before this, 3.5, whatever. Mm-hmm. And Propaganda, that's a song that stuck out to me. Like it's like a pretty fast song, like in the middle of the record, but like it's not like fast as a Rise type stuff. So it's like they kind of have this more mid-pace style here, but really unique songs, really great batch of songs, really good cohesive album all the way. Like you said, not a lot of skips on this one. Yeah. I just think it's a good record from beginning to end, and Chaos AD for me is definitely in top 5, and that's why it's become number 4 for me.
Okay. I gotta agree with the placement. Got it at the same spot. I think now again, I think it'll be interesting to see how our top 3 unfolds.
Got to be close.
Yeah, I mean, the same 3 albums are in there. Now I'm just gonna. I mean, like I promise, we did not talk about this list in advance. We had no knowledge of each other's lists, despite whatever similarities came out. That's just again a testament to our friendship and kind of growing up the same in the same school of music at the same time. But so for me, this is where I think it gets interesting. I'm coming down at number 3 with Quadra. I really love this album. I think it's a great capstone album. It's a truly great Sepultura album. It epitomizes all the things that they've done in their career up to this point. You've got the tribal elements, you've got the progressive elements, you've got the acoustic elements. You know, you've got everything that they've done up until now in a really cohesive album. It's heavy, it's thrash, it's melodic. And if it's what they're going out on, it's a great way to end a career. I really felt like this is a solid effort. Let me see. It captivates the listener from start to finish, I noted. It rips your face off immediately with Isolation. And then you get that thrash reminder the band is known for decades. Other standout tracks to me, Means to an End, Last Time, Ali, had cool production effects, like had this weird slithering sound going through the headphones, had some cool vocal effects on it too. I also noted Raging Void, Guardians of Earth, long instrumental intro, had the choir vocals on it. It's very melodic, rich outro to the song. The Pentagram, cool instrumental, nice clean segment in the middle of that. And Quadra, it's only a minute long, but I love that Spanish guitar lick just for the 1 minute that it lasts. I thought it was really cool. Agony of Defeat, another very melodic song. We've got the clean vocals, progressive vibes, had a string arrangement in there. And then we've got Fear, Pain, Chaos, Suffering, had the most notable with the female vocals on there. And I really appreciate that track. So I felt like if we're calling it a day on this album, it is good. Probably had a couple of skips on it for me, which is why I put it at 3 and no higher. I have listened to this album several times. I really do appreciate it. I think it's getting overlooked maybe because they weren't able to tour on it with the pandemic kind of getting in the way of it. And then you've got Eloy saying, "Or if you guys are retiring, I'm out." So like they had to take the time to replace him, dragging out their farewell tour. They had to get Grayson Krutman to learn the material, but I think it's a strong album. I'm putting it at 3. I wrestled with it a little bit. I wanted to make sure I was putting it in the proper place, but I think 3 is a good place for Quadra for me. So that's my opinion of it. Great album, highly recommend. If you're a Sepultura fan of any era, Max or the tribal nu metal era, I think you can get down with this album. If you're more of a Chaos AD person, you can get down with this. Not as many thrash metal elements on there, maybe more toward that punk side of things, but I gotta show mad love to Quadra. I don't want it to be overlooked. I want people to hear this and say, all right, what's this about? And go and listen to the final Sepultura album. I'm putting it in my top 3.
Okay. Not mad at it. Not mad at it. Number 3 for me, Arise.
Okay.
So top 3 albums. I would almost be mad at myself if it didn't make top 3.
Right.
Same thing. A lot of nostalgia. One of the best thrash records ever. Period. Right. It's so heavy, but fast. It's thrashy. I mean, the Dead Embryonic Cells, the groove in it. I mean, that's one of the all-time classic groove riffs of all metal, period.
Yeah.
Desperate Cry with the clean guitar, the
haunting.
Like it just sticks out so cool, man. Backbeat, there's like a real sweet backbeat groove and Subtraction. I felt like this Arise record for them was like, okay, we're going to be thrash, but we're going to add some of these more groovy elements too, whereas like Beneath the Remains didn't have as many, whereas on Arise we had more of kind of like, I don't want to say breakdowns, but I guess breakdowns for 1991, where you're just not, you're
not just
Duka the whole time,
riding the thrash trot.
Exactly. So, but Altered State on this, they add some of the jungle drums and the flute in there, so we're kind of adding some of our our heritage in this one right here.
Yeah.
But great breakup that, like I said, they've always been pretty good with that. We've had mentioned a few albums where it might just be metal song after metal song, but for the most part, they've always been good at this. And this is a good testament to show that they've been doing this since day one, really. Throwing in the little acoustic guitars, just enough so you're not completely bored.
Yeah.
And then final song, On a Rise, Meaningless Movements.
Yeah.
Great way to wrap up that album. It's just like, almost like when it's over, you're like, I wish there was like 2-3 more songs. Like, it's already a long record, so I'm like good with it, but I'm just like, it's good, but it kind of leaves you kind of hanging like, fuck, that was a great album. And just one of the all-time great albums ever in metal, period. So, I mean, Arise just takes number 3 for me, man. Just such a good fucking record, dude.
Yeah. And once again, I'm going to follow up with I respect your placement of it. Number 2 for me, Arise. Swear we did not talk about this. That's why we're laughing. I can honestly see a lot of people, because of the popularity of this album, putting this one at number 1. The only detriment to this album is that it is so much a thrash metal album that it doesn't display some of the diversity that they would go on to incorporate later on in their career. I think this is where you really start to get the cultural elements infused into the music. It was maybe there a little bit on Beneath the Remains, but I feel like they did a really great job of leaning into that on this album. And this album separates itself from Beneath the Remains because it's a little bit more harnessed. It's maybe not as technical, but you've got such great songwriting. And this is the album that I feel like has like the holy trinity of the best 1, 2, 3 punch in their career. When you got Arise, Dead Embryonic Cells, and then Desperate Cry, like out the gate, like they do not have a better run of 3 songs in their career. Like those 3 songs right there, boom. Like it's hard not to have this album right near the top, just on the back of those 3 songs. They're so fucking good. And there's a lot of nostalgia that creeps in, but I listened to the rest of the album, and not only is it like a thrash metal album through and through, but it's really catchy. They're really good riffs. It's not just thrash that sounds like generic thrash and recycled riffage. I think they did a lot of unique things here, and they do break it up with the instrumentation. Some other standout tracks were Subtraction, Altered State, Under Siege, Meaningless Movements, and Infected Voice close out this classic album in top-tier thrash metal style. Again, you're not going to get much of a pushback from me if you tell me it's your number 1 all-time Sepultura album. I'm like, great, it's number 2 for me, and obviously there's only 1 remaining at this point in my list, so you've probably already guessed what my number 1 is, and I'll speak to it in a minute, but I love this album. It does, the nostalgia washes over, but it still stands, like it doesn't get lost in with all of the thrash metal of the time. It stands out today as like a really great album. It's got enough groove, and it's harnessed in terms of thrash metal album. And by that, I mean, it isn't just thrash metal start to finish. It breaks itself up very well, and I appreciate it. And probably, like I said, 3 of the best songs in their catalog, just 1, 2, 3 out the gate. It's right off of that. I mean, I heard that first drum, like that, a timpani or something, and it's just like, boom, hair on my arm stood up. To this day, like I still have like that hair standing up on my arm reaction listening to this album. So I was pretty confident in my placement. I did wrestle with putting it at number 1, but I almost thought like I'd be like catering to like our listeners or like doing a fan service thing if I said it was number 1.
Yeah.
So I had to be true to myself and how I feel about this next album that I'll speak to in a minute, and I'm very confident saying what I'm about to say about it. But Jay, what clocks in for number 2 for you?
Just 2 things real quick before I get into that.
Sure.
1, Scott Burns, thank you.
Okay.
Arise.
Yes.
I believe
Amen.
he was involved in Beneath the Remains, but I feel like this is when like you're coming to Tampa to record.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So thank you, Scott Burns.
Yeah, amen.
Because you're the producer. I'm sure you had a lot to do with helping direct some of this stuff. Maybe you didn't, but at the end of the day, the reason why it is a classic is because your name is also attached to that. So I had to at least throw that out there because of such this. And then the only other thing I want to say is you had said that you wouldn't have a problem if someone put this in their number one.
Right.
Well, the only problem I would have if it's in your number one, if you never listen to anything after Roots. That's my only problem I would have. You saying Arise is my favorite, but have you listened to the last 7 albums?
Yeah.
You need to listen to everything to tell me what your number one is.
Yeah.
Might be the number one of everything you listen to.
Yeah.
But let's not sleep on these other albums.
Oh.
So number 2 for me is Machine Messiah.
Okay.
This could have flip-flopped for number 1, to be honest.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this record. We talked about it on the bio episodes.
Yeah.
I've jammed it multiple times, even after being prepared for that and for this, just because it's so damn good, man. I just love it. It's melodic. It goes to what you were speaking of, having the great melodic passages, but also having the heavy metal and not just thrash. Phantom Self, great banger of a song, super heavy. It opens melodic. Resistance Parasites is a banger. So many cool rhythmic riffs that are tight with the kick drums or the drums. Like they're on this other level on these later albums where we're really in tune with. I mean, this is Andres and Eloy, but we're really in tune with each other. My right hand is with your kicks. We're coming up with these cool rhythmic patterns. We're throwing a lot of great, not just melodic passages, but great leads over the top of some of this stuff with the tapping. And like I said, I was like, did this dude take guitar lessons? I know he's been a hell of a great guitar player, but if you listen to this and you listen to Against, you're like, they got a new guitar player? Because like there's not even a shred of what's to be found on Machine Messiah on Against. I'm sorry, there's not. Except for the name of the guy that's playing guitar. That's about it, dude. Like in my opinion. I love Machine Messiah. It is an absolute great record. And it's better than Arise. Sorry. It's just so good. But this is also our style. Heavy, melodic. Great songs. Like all the things we look for and talk about on this show. That's what this record is right here.
Okay. And that leads me to my number 1 Sepultura album of all time. If you've already scratched everything off on your bingo card, you already know what it is. And I gotta say, man, for me, Machine Messiah, like I listened to it again last night, front to back, and from the opening of the title track, Machine Messiah, I knew something special was about to happen. This was different. It was good in a way that I was like, it's different, but man, I'm just like, you have got me. You've got me by the earlobe. I am like the hook and mouth. I am just with it immediately. I'm like, it's different, but God, it's good. This has got to be Andreas Kisser's finest moment. The guitar playing on this album, best of his career. He's absolutely off his fucking face on this album. That's a note that I had to make sure I said that. Like, just blistering guitar solos, burning up the fretboard. The guitar solos are straight fire each time he goes off. This album is rich with melody and heaviness. It feels triumphant to me. I love the production quality of it. I love the added atmosphere that pipes in throughout the album. We've got like a lot of keyboard things that are very unique, in my opinion, to the Sepultura catalog, but they really work. You got high quality metal riffs, just the most technical since Beneath the Remains or maybe Arise, but like we're back into technical metal here. We've got great diversity in the songwriting. The album does not suffer from songs sounding too much like one another. By that I mean like, whereas Arise is a great album and great songs front to back, they do start to sound alike. They really do start to kind of blend into that thrash cacophony. Whereas this, exactly with the drum beat. Whereas this one, there's just diversity from one song to the next, yet it is cohesive and it flows very nicely. Machine Messiah, epic magnum opus track. Phantom Self, punishingly heavy. Cool keyboards. Alethea, it's a little bit jilted, like it's got this kind of stuttering heaviness to it, but that's what I'm speaking to when I say standout tracks. It's heavy, but it's different. Iceberg Dances, really fun instrumental. Cool Spanish guitar solo. Sworn Oath, got that eerie intro, goes into the chugs, a lot of keyboard in the background of this one. Resistant Parasites, classic Sepultura sound. It's got this cool Egyptian melody in the solo at the end, so I thought that was unique. Silent Violence, just heavy and groovy.
That one's really sweet.
Yeah. Vandal's Nest sounds like Troy from Mastodon on the vocals. So, again, now a testament to Derek Green's diversity in the vocal department. These clean vocals, maybe we didn't mention enough throughout this episode.
Probably not. I was just thinking of that when you said that. Because
like, there's a lot of clean vocals from Derek Green that kind of happen along the way, but this is some of the best use of those clean vocals. They really fit the songs. We've got Cyber God, heavy and melodic, fine closing to the album as the solo fades out. Then it's got the 2 bonus tracks on it. Chosen Skin, which I thought was really cool, heavy, had some good licks in it. And then it goes out with like a Portuguese style punk. Ultra 7, Nouda. Sounds punk. Only track I don't really need, but it is a bonus track, so take it or leave it. If we're just looking at the first 10, then Cyber God.
Cybertruck.
It does go out on like a fine guitar solo from Andreas Kisser, and it kind of fades out. So that works if we're just calling it a 10-song album. Like, I can't speak highly enough, which is why I placed it at number 1. I know it's a hot take for some people. I'm thinking too many people did not listen to this album. The melody, hey, same. Like,
right.
I had to listen to it again, listen to it this morning just to be sure. Am I really going to say this is the best Sepultura album of all time? Yes, I am.
Yep.
I am saying that here and now today. Like, you got to get to the 2017 version, the production quality, the songwriting, the musicianship, Eloy Casagrande. Andreas Kisser's guitar playing, next level, just lighting up the fretboard.
Derek's vocals,
thank you.
Even I think you even said clean vocals, right, bro? But we haven't spoken enough about his heavy vocals,
right?
Because I feel like around the roar back was really when he started coming into his own.
Yeah.
Like he started adding a lot more, not just your regular average Fry vocal. And I've always liked a lot of his vocals too, because you can tell what he's saying too. And I thought that was important. His enunciation was clear. It's still a Fry vocal, but on this particular record, he's adding a lot more different heavy vocals too, not just the clean vocals. So I felt like he's grown with the band just as much. So the credit also goes to his vocals and making it how good they actually are. This album and
I love this album very much, and I want to turn people on to it. I was happy to see at least a friend of ours had mentioned they had been listening to it, revisiting it. Also, Austin did as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So he had been revisiting it. Actually, had a sidebar chat with him and a little DM conversation about Sepultura. So I was happy to hear him tell me he'd been revisiting that album and digging on it. And I was like, yeah, I absolutely love that album, and for all the reasons, just the heaviness, the melody, the diversity. I got to place it above Arise just for the simple fact that it is more diverse. You've got the vocals, the keyboards, just other things that didn't exist up until this point in time. So Chef's Kiss on Machine Messiah, I am going to boldly declare it as the top Sepultura album of all time. We'll see if it stands the test of time, if I change my mind later and flip-flop in my life, but I don't think so. I just think for the lead work on this alone, it's very special. It's not buried in wah and scribbly. Like some of them solos where he was kind of finding his way back to his instrument, like they don't sound very special. But this one, like, very melodic and rich. And man, just really stoked on this album and happy to have discovered it so late. And I want to throw flowers on it today, and I'm declaring it the best Sepultura album ever.
Not mad at you for that.
Thanks.
Number 1 for me.
Yep.
Only leaves one.
Yep. I've got you narrowed down.
Yep. I think you guessed it.
Yep.
It's Quadra. So, I mean, we pretty much just flip flop, right? Quadra was 3 for you, right?
Me, yeah.
Which is fair too.
Yeah.
But for me, it starts off just epic as hell. And then all of a sudden it goes into like death metal, and then it's like metalcore, and then there's some thrash elements, and then he goes into a tapping guitar solo and the melody, and I'm just like, Andres was in his bag on this album too. So like for me, the guitar playing on this was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's almost like everything you said about Machine Messiah is true as well.
Yeah.
But for me, that also implies that Quadra has the same elements to me on there.
Agreed.
I just think these two, that's why it's number 1 and number 2. The two newest ones they put out are number 1 and number 2 for me. Solos are just top notch. Great epic samples in it.
Yeah.
I mean, just to break up the music, like you said, more interesting piano playing, orchestration, things they've added for production. Agony of Defeat, great song. You brought up, You brought up Pentagram, great song.
Yep.
Fear, Pain, Chaos, Suffering, what a great song. Just a collection of great songs, and maybe a little bit out of the norm. Like, oh, their newest one is your favorite. Well, yeah, that's why I'm declaring this too, because I'm not just a fair weather fan. I listen to all their music, and I really do enjoy Sepultura. Did I get off the bandwagon kind of around against? Yeah. But there's just so much music and so many bands. We can't talk about them all. That's why we have weeks and weeks full of content, because there's so many bands.
Yeah.
We can't hear everything. We don't know everything, but we love exploring these topics and exploring new music and being able to talk about it. And I was the same, what you said. I was the guy, I didn't listen to Machine Messiah enough until I started doing the bio episode. So it's only been a few months since I started listening to the stuff. But to become my favorite Sepultura records speaks testament to how great this music actually is. But Quadra number one for me. I don't know what else you want from me. Like you said, I did a whole bunch of research. Sepultura has been in my brain, in my life, embedded in my ethos for I don't know how many weeks now. So I'm ready to move on to something else, but nothing but love for Sepultura, man. Great catalog, 15 albums. There you go. Yeah. That's where it's at. And that's what I got to say. What a career. What a great bunch. I mean, even some of their, Against was rated, one of the lowest albums.
Yeah.
Morbid Visions, Schizophrenia, Nation, Roarback. Those ones were kind of rated low for me, but they're still worth jamming, man. It's not like they're so terrible where it's like throw it away. Maybe.
Yeah, no, I thought the same.
Maybe like Morbid Visions, just because it's a tough listen because of production.
Yeah.
Some people love that. They want to hear the gurgly goo grindcore and whatever bullshit. So cool. Maybe that's for you. But all in all, it's not like they put out bullshit. You know what I mean? Like even Against has some good quality tracks on it. It's just one I probably won't listen to a lot. Now Quadra, when I want something to listen to, it'll be like an At the Gates or Machine Messiah or an Arise. Like that's where these two albums fit. Yeah. Like along how great those albums are and memorable.
I think another reason that people kind of fell off from this band, or at least I'll speak to my own personal experience, is you get to a point with any band at all, and you're like, I've heard enough. And it's no disrespect to whatever they put out next, but you're kind of like, I'm moving on. I'm going to listen to new bands that I've not heard yet. And that's kind of why we fell off as well, as like, they've already got 6 or 7 albums at this point, and then the things that are coming at you, like Against, Nation, even Roarback, you're kind of like, well, I'm not really appreciating the sound as much right now, and I'm on to other things. Like, we could have been on to like some serious deathcore at this point.
Yes.
While they're doing like new metal hangover stuff with those 3 albums that followed up Roots. They're like, I rated Roarback fairly high, mid tier in this list. And it's pretty aggressive. It goes in pretty hard. But for the time, when you're looking at like 2003 or something like that, like there were probably some better albums for me at that time. Was it 03 or 01? I'm going to scroll back. 03, I got it. So there were just probably some other things I was listening to in that time. And maybe not even metal for that. I mean, I was listening to a lot of hard rock at that time, maybe just finding my way back to some metal. I think Lamb of God was coming up pretty hard then. Yeah. So you got Roarback compared to what Lamb of God was doing. I'm probably listening to Lamb of God at that time. But in the grand scheme of things and comparing just Sepultura albums to each other, I think that's why a lot of fans kind of get off of the bandwagon too, is because you've just heard enough. And it would take a real solid effort to finally turn things around, get out of that Roots hangover and into like sounding like Sepultura again and sounding like a new version of themselves. Once you get to Dante, I think you said in the bio, where you start to notice things kind of like pick up and shift gears from and away from Roots.
Yep.
And then you get into, I think maybe Alex is after that, and then Kairos. But yeah, I gotta say, like the last 4 albums that this band has put out, they're in my top 10. They're in my top 6. I really appreciate everything that they've done. I think Arise and KSAD are the best of the Max era, and then Machine Messiah and Quadra are the top of the Derek Green era. So I think with that said, to steal a line from Jay, that concludes my top 15, my ranking of the 15 Sepultura albums. Again, no EPs, no live albums here. 15 is enough to cover in one sitting. And I definitely gave these all the intentional listen. I'm very set on where I've ranked these albums, and for the reasons mentioned. I understand. I'm gonna just go ahead and call out people, like, if you haven't listened to these Derek Green albums, the last 4 that they've put out over the last 13 years, like, give them a shot.
Yeah,
I understand they're not gonna knock off number 1 for you now. Like, that's fair.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But you could at least say, yeah, you know what? I have not listened to these albums. Let me throw them on. I already know what I like, and let's see how they rank compared to the ones that I do like. I would say you got to listen to Machine Messiah. You got to listen to Quadra.
Yep.
You're not going to hurt yourself if you listen to Kairos. Like, that's a great one. I ranked The Mediator fairly high on my list. Raw production, but I feel like people would appreciate that one too, as I got it in my top 5.
Yep. All right. Anything else on Sepultura?
I just ordered a pair of those albums to make sure that they were in my collection at home permanently. And I used to have a T-shirt. Don't know what happened to it.
What T-shirt did you have?
Just solid black S. That was
the S. Okay.
Just the S on it.
Okay.
Don't know what happened to it. I don't know. Like, lost in a move. I usually am pretty good about keeping all of my T-shirts, but since I went through my entire wardrobe and couldn't find it, I went to their merch site last night and made sure to order one that I like.
Nice.
Actually going to be a tour shirt of I've never seen them live, and that's going to come to be, end of the day, I will never see this band live. I looked at their tour and their schedule, and look, I am not going to be so selfish as to, like, prioritize going to see them by myself that everybody else is going to have to step in and carry things. Like, they're coming through Chicago on a school night, a night that my wife works late. I just cannot see or justify, like, saddling everybody else with my responsibilities as a parent and, you know, as a family person to, like, go out of my way to watch these guys. They're not even coming through Michigan. So it's like Chicago or somewhere in Ohio and or New York. I'm not going to New York on a Saturday. Like, I'll probably get lost or killed.
Right.
But I'm never going to see him live, but I am going to stand by my list. And I love this band. I was really happy to revisit some of the stuff and also learn the things that I hadn't discovered and find a new appreciation for this band. And I hope that by doing this list and coupled up with the bio that we did a couple weeks ago, and now we're coming back around to them, you guys are listening to us on this episode talk about Sepultura again. We really want to drive the point home to listen to some of their newer albums if you haven't yet. They're really great.
Yep. Yeah, this was fun. So with that being said, much love to you guys. Keep it metal. Peace. Thank you so much for checking out the episode. Be sure to hit that like button and give us a share.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed our podcast today, please give it a rating on your streaming service to help us gain some exposure.
And if you really enjoyed the show, please give us a follow or hit that subscribe button and come hang out with us every week. And remember, keep it metal.